Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel Manu Issue ACCA classes. In today's video, we will discuss the one of the past question that is from the PM F5 of ACCA, and the question name is Racquetz and this is from the March June 2023 attempt. So let's start the today question. But before that, if you are watching my video for the first time, do not forget to subscribe my channel and share it among your friends. But if you are my existing viewer, don't forget to hit the bell icon for more updates regarding the video. So let's start the today video, and this is from the section B of ACCA-F5. So let's read the first scenario, right? So that we will have a rough idea what the question is. But before that, let's have a look for the what has been asked in those 5 questions, so that our mind will look for the information related to the same, right? Okay, so first question is asking to calculate the forecast weighted average contribution to sales ratio for the Racquetz score for 20x1, and in second one they have provided information for 20x2 in the above scenario, and they want us that to calculate sales revenue to achieve break-even point. And in third, they had provided the profit, and we need to again calculate the sales revenue. And the fourth one is regarding the graph, fine. And the last one is regarding the CVP analysis limitation for the planning and decision making. That's fine. So we have scanned the question. Now let's read the scenario. Racquetz company is based in the country of Iceland and currently makes and sells rackets for the children for 3 different sports: badminton, tennis, and squash. The company has recently been trying to forecast expected sales and the cost for next 3 years. So basically the company sold the 3 products. That's the name is badminton, tennis, and squash. Let me note it down. You don't need to, but I need to perform the calculation. That's why I am noting down in the formal way. You can do the rough calculation from the exam point of view, because in exam you don't have a much time to perform all the calculations, so you need to apply a shortcut, right? So these are the product which is sold by the Racquetz company, and they have provided the 3-year information regarding the product, and that is for 20x1, 20x2, and 20x3. So let's first read out the scenario of the 20x1, and we will solve the question related to the same. So firstly, what they are saying, the sales demand for 20x1 is expected to be in the ratio of 4:2:1 4:2:1 for the badminton, tennis, and squash, right? So what is the ratio? I will simply put down the figure. That is a 4:2:1. So in shortcut, that means 4:2:1. Sorry, my fault. Right? Okay. Next, what they have been provided the budgeted information related to these 3 products, and that's a sale price and variable. And remember, they have provided this information in the dollar per unit. Unit is racket, so don't forget to look this information. So we have a selling price per unit. For the badminton it's 21, and for tennis it's 30, and for squash it's 24. Similarly, the variable cost per unit they have been provided is 11 for the badminton, 15 for the tennis, and squash 16. And this all information are given in the dollar per racket, that means per unit, right? Okay, now at the end of 20x1, Racquetz Co will stop making squash racket. That means after the end of this year, this product will no longer be produced. So be careful while performing the calculation for 20x2 and 20x3. So now let's move to the requirement related to this year 20x1. The first one, they have asked us to calculate forecast weighted average contribution to sales ratio for the Racquetz Co. So how do we calculate that? let's recall the formula: weighted CH ratio. And what is that? We mean it means total contribution from all the product divided by total sales revenue from all product, right? So let's calculate total contribution. And how can we do that? So we don't have provided the unit, but they have provided the ratio of the unit in which the product will be produced and sold it out. So we will consider it as the unit and we will multiply that with the contribution per unit. But we don't have calculated the contribution. So first we need to calculate contribution per unit, right? And how do we calculate that? Yeah, that's fine. We will take a selling price and deduct the variable cost per unit, and similarly for the rest of the product. So this is the contribution per unit. So now what will be the total contribution? We will take the contribution per unit and multiply it with the respective ratio. So similarly for the tennis we will do the same, and for the squares as well we will do the same. So we are simply multiplying with the ratio and the contribution per unit. That will give the total contribution of 78. Now total sales. For sales we will adopt the same approach. We will take the ratio and multiply it with the selling price per unit, and similarly for the tennis we will take the selling price per unit and multiply it with the respective ratio. So these are the total sales. That's it. So we got our weighted contribution sales ratio as, by dividing these two we will get this alt HP. Yeah, 46% so which is D. I hope this is clear, and this is for the question number 1. Question 1. So now let's move to the question number 2, because this is related to the 20x2 year. So we need to read out the scenario for the 20x2. So let's move into that. So what is the scenario? Yeah. So Tennis Association Foundation, funded by the partly by the government, and is planning an investment in the sport in order to encourage more children to take up the tennis. This funding will lead to increase in the number of children tennis facility being available in 20x2 and corresponding rise in the sales of tennis racket. The sales volume ratio for the year is expected to be 3:5 for badminton and tennis racket respectively, with a weighted average contribution to sales ratio of 52.21%. The Racquetz Co has budgeted sell badminton racket for 22 per unit and tennis racket for 32 per unit. Fixed costs are expected to be 604750 for the year. So now let's move to the requirement, then I will come back to scenario. So they are asking in 20x2, assuming that racket are sold in the constant mix. So this is the assumption of CVP analysis. So based on the budgeted sales volume ratio, what is the sales revenue Racket's company needs to achieve in order to break even and to the nearest 3000, right? So we need to calculate the, what the question is asking, BP in terms of monetary value. And how can we do that? I have explained this in my previous video. In order to calculate the BP in terms of I mean to say in monetary value, we need to take the fixed cost divided by the CH ratio, right? But here the product being sold is the multiple, so this will applicable for the single product. So we will take weighted CS ratio, not simple ratio, but weighted C ratio in case of the multiple product. Again, here is the twist. The question is asking for the individual product, what will be the BEP. So how can we do that? So first of all, you need to calculate what is your BEP in I mean for the both of the product. We need to calculate the BEP. So do we have a fixed cost given in the question? fixed cost will be, let's move to the scenario back, and weighted CS ratio, I think it's provided in the scenario. Let's move to the scenario first. In 2x2, they have provided the fixed cost, that is your $60,4750, and they have also provided the weighted CS ratio, that is 52.21 percentage, right? So by using these two the value, we can calculate the BP in terms of monetary value, and that is 1158303. But the question don't end here, so we need to calculate for the individual product. Badminton and for tennis, what is the BP? For that, we need first sales value. Remember, in 20x2, we are no longer selling the squash racket. We are only selling the badminton and the tennis. It has been already told in the scenario, right? So, what is the product first? We have badminton, that's B, and tennis, right? What is the selling price for the badminton and the tennis? In 20x2, they have been told this, that it's 22 for the badminton, and for tennis it's 32, right? And it's a per unit again, hey? So it's per unit, right? And they have also provided the ratio, that is 3:5, right? So we can write it as 3:5. So now let's calculate the total sales value. So total sales value will be, by multiplying this two, we will get total sales value, and by adding this two, this will be our total for the both of the product, right? So now for the badminton, let's figure out what will be the BP. And how can we do that? Please look carefully. We need to take the break-even revenue that we calculated earlier, and then we will multiply with the sales value for the badminton, then divide it by the total sales value figure. And similarly for the tennis, we will do the same approach. We will take the break-even sales that we calculated earlier, multiply with the sales value for the tennis, then divide with the total sales value. That's it. So now, but question is asking in the nearest thousand. That means last three numbers should be just a second. Yeah, now question is asking in the terms of thousand, right? You need to look out the last three digit, and for the first the third digit, if it is less than 5, then you can simply write 338123, and again here 82003000. Right. So this is the answer in terms of nearest thousand. But if your third digit, last one from last, if your third digit is more than 5, in that case you need to add 1 to the immediate one digit. Suppose if here there is 6 instead of 2, I need to add 1 here, so it will be 339000. But here it is less than 5, so that's why I have simply turned the last 3 digit into the 0. Okay, so this is for the question number 2. Now let's move to the question number 3, and it is also related to the year 20x2. Now the question is asking, assuming that racket has been sold in the constant mix based on the budgeted sales volume ratio, what is the total sales revenue rackets need to achieve the profit of 450,800. So now question has asked you to calculate the value of sales if you want a profit of 450,800, means 450,800. So how can we calculate that? Again, same approach. The only difference is that you need to add the profit now here along with the fixed cost. So here we will add the profit that we want to achieve, and then we will rest will be the same. Rest approach will be the same. So now what is the profit that we want to achieve? It's a 450,800, right? Yeah. So now we will take this value as well along with the fixed cost, and adding this to will gives. Yeah. Now again, question is asking in terms of. Let me remove this one. Yeah, this is not required. So now question is asking in terms of thousand. So we need to look at the. Uh, no. Alt H9. Yeah. So we need to look at the last three digit, and for the third digit, whether it is greater than 5 or less than 5. If it is less than 5, we will simply remove the last three digit, and instead of that we will keep the 0. But if it is more than 5, then in that case we need to add 1 in the immediate one. From that, in the fourth digit we need to add 1. So here you can see the third digit is 7, and which is more than 5. That means we need to add 1 in the fourth digit, that will give 20222123. So this will be the answer for this question, right? So now it will be your sales revenue, not BP. Sales to achieve the profit. Yo. So now question number 4. So this is related to the year 20x3, which we need to look it out first. Year 20x3. So the badminton world championship are held every 2 years in a different country, and in 20x3 they will be held in the Iceland, and Racquetz co will be selling its badminton racket at this event. This means that proportion of the badminton racket sales is expected to be higher than usual in 20x3. The profit volume graph for 20x3 has been drawn as below, as follows. So basically the question already told that this graph is related to the profit volume. So now let's read out the requirement. So now the question is asking which of the following statement are true for this graph. The first statement says that the CH ratio of badminton racket is higher than the CH ratio of tennis racket. So badminton racket higher than the tennis racket. So remember, while explaining the concept of this profit volume chart, I have been told that in order to draw this graph, we need to first rank the product according to the contribution per unit, and CS ratio, and then those who give the higher CS ratio, that will be produced first, and we will draw the line for that product first. Similarly here, if we look at this graph, the tennis racket line has been drawn up first, so that's why the CS ratio of tennis racket will be higher than the badminton, not the badminton is higher than this tennis one. So right, so this is wrong, incorrect. So second, what the statement says, if the racket are sold in the constant mix, the break-even revenue is approximately 1300. So as I sold, as I told in my previous video that in case of profit volume chart, you can see the two line that's cut off the sales revenue. X-axis, right? So the line dot one, this one is the break even sales for the just a second. So the line dotted one, which cut off the x-axis that represent the sales revenue. So if the product are sold in the budgeted sales mix, that means the standard mix. So this will be the BP. But if you the straight line that cut off the x-axis, This will be the BP if the company sold its product in order of their CS ratio. That means according to their profitability. So don't get confused. The dotted line will represent the BP according to the sales mix, and the straight line in front of the dotted one will represent the BP again, but according to the CS ratio, that means according to the profitability of the product. And now the question is asking in terms of the sales mix. You can see constant mix. So what will be the BP? So it will be the dotted line one, and it exactly cut off at the 1300. So the statement 2 is true, right? The third one, the total contribution for 20x3 is approximately 740,000. So in the graph, the 740 line will represent the profit, not the contribution. So that's why it's incorrect. And the last one, it says that the fixed costs are approximately 600,000. By looking at the graph, it will be the point where we start drawing our line, and it's 600. So that means our fixed cost is 600, and this statement is true, right? Now last question, which of the following facts about Racquetz company mean that use of CVP analysis is limited for the planning and decision making? Now read the question carefully. The question is asking the use of CVP analysis is limited for the planning and the decision making. So let's analyze this statement and then we will compare it with the limitation. The first one says that Racquetz company will give a discount on sales price at the Badminton World Championship event. According to CVP analysis assume that the selling price for the product will remain constant. So if the Racquetz company will give the discount, this will be the limitation of the CVP analysis, right? So first one is correct. Second, every 6 months, tennis and badminton racket are redesigned and given a new model name. So if you redesign, it will increase your variable cost. And again, CVP analysis assume that your variable cost is constant for the product, right? So again, this will break the assumption. That means it will be the limitation. And the last, all of the Racquetz company cost are either fixed cost or variable cost, and there is no semi-variable cost. And this is the assumption of the CVP analysis, not the limitation. That's why only 1 and 2 is correct. So I hope this question is clear now. In case of any confusion, do let me know in the comment box or anywhere in the social media ID. I have provided a link of the same in the description box. So thank you so much guys. Have a good day and don't forget to subscribe my channel and share it among your friends.